Edran had eaten alone for 11 years. He did not complain about it. A man who spent his days felling timber at the edge of Thornwood Forest learned to be quiet with himself, to take his soup at the long table, to hear the creak of the old house settling, to watch the candle burn down to a stub and call that an evening. The farm was small, a house, a barn, a woodpile that never quite shrank in autumn because he kept adding to it, and a gate at the lane's end that swung on the same rusted hinge it had swung on when his brother had still been alive to oil it. He kept 4 chairs at the table. He had no idea why. Old habit, perhaps. His mother had always set 1 extra place. For the stranger who needs it, she used to say. And after she was gone and his brother was gone, and the house was just Edron and the candle and the cooling soup, he still kept all 4 chairs. He had not set more than 1 place in 11 years. Until the evening a green-skinned woman appeared at his gate with 3 small children behind her. He heard them before he saw them, a soft sound at the lane's end, barely louder than the wind. When he stepped out with his lantern, he found her standing at the gate with her hand resting on the top post, not pushing through, not demanding. She was tall and broad-shouldered, with tusks the color of old ivory and dark braids wound back from her face, and her eyes, when the lantern light found them, were steady and tired and careful. The 3 children pressed close behind her, a boy of about 10, a girl a little younger, and a small one no more than 4, who gripped a fistful of the woman's worn leather coat and watched Edrin with round, solemn eyes. The woman's coat was good quality once. The stitching spoke of craft. But the hem was torn, and the boots were wrapped in cloth at the toes, and the children's cheeks were hollow, in the way that meant they had not eaten properly in days. "The village turned us away," she said. Her voice was even. She did not beg. "I am not asking for charity. I am asking if there is work I can do in exchange for a barn to sleep in and something warm for the children to eat." Edran looked at the children. The small one, Nod, he would learn, was watching him with an expression that was not fear exactly, but the careful blankness of a child who had learned not to expect much from doors. He opened the gate. "The soup's already on," he said. "Come inside." She hesitated. He had the impression she had prepared herself for a refusal, and had not prepared herself for this. "There are 3 of them," she said. "I know," said Edran. "I can count." He went back inside and set 3 more places at the table. Her name was Mura. The boy was Breck, the girl Scylla, the small one was Nod, who had taken it upon himself to press his face against Adron's boot the moment he sat down, apparently satisfied with what he found there, because he climbed up into the nearest chair and waited for soup with great seriousness. Edron served them all. He cut bread, and he found the 2nd jar of honey he had been saving, and he put it on the table, because the girl Scylla had looked at the shelf where it sat with an expression no child should have to carry. He said nothing about it. He just moved it to the table. Mura ate with discipline, measured, composed, but he could see the effort it took. She kept handing pieces of her bread to Nod when she thought Edron was not watching. He cut more bread and left it where she could reach it without asking. After supper she rose immediately to help clear the bowls. She was efficient, and she was thorough, and she did not take anything for granted. When he showed her to the barn, she looked it over with a quick, assessing eye, the roof, the loft, the straw, and thanked him in a way that meant she was already thinking about what she could offer in return. "I can split wood," she said. "I am good at it." "I imagine you are," Edron said, and left them to sleep. In the morning he woke to the sound of the axe. She was already at the woodpile before dawn, splitting logs with a clean, unhurried stroke that told him she had been doing it since she was young. The pile was half again as high as it had been the night before. Breck was stacking beside her, working quietly, handing her the rounds without being asked. Scylla had swept the barn. Small Nod was sitting on the fence watching the chickens with the deep philosophical concentration that small children bring to such things. Edran made breakfast for 5. She had been there 3 days when he noticed the detail he could not quite explain. It was the way she held herself when she thought no one was watching. A stillness and a straightness that had nothing to do with pride and everything to do with training. The way her eyes moved when a rider appeared on the far lane, cataloging without seeming to. The worn leather coat was common enough, but the clasp at her collar was silver, worked at a pattern too careful to be a trader's trinket. He said nothing. She stayed 4 days, then 5. She mended the hinge on the gate without being asked. She found where the roof above the wood store had begun to leak, and she fixed it. She sat with the children in the evenings and told them things in a low voice that made Breck's eyes go wide and Scylla laugh. On the fifth evening, Nod climbed into the chair beside Edron at supper, considered the situation, and said, with great finality, "This is my chair now. I had 4 chairs, as Dron said. I only ever needed one." Nod patted the table. This appeared to be agreement. The riders came on the morning of the 6th day. There were 9 of them, orc warriors on broad horses, with a banner Edron did not know, and an older orc at the front, white-braided, with a face that had weathered a long search and knew it. They came up the lane at a walk. Edron stepped out his front door with his coffee and watched them come. Mura came around from the barn. She stopped when she saw them. The older orc swung down from his horse and stood in the lane. He was silent for a moment, looking at her, and then he bowed his head. A short, deep bow that was not the bow of a chief to a subject, but of an elder to someone he had feared was gone. "We have ridden 2 seasons," he said. "We were told you died in the Eastern Pass." "I nearly did," Mura said quietly. "Harvel's men." The older orc's expression did not change, but something in it settled. The particular settling of a man who has already decided what will be done about that and is done discussing it. He looked at Edron then. Edron sipped his coffee. "This is the man who gave you shelter." "This is Edron," Mura said. "He opened his gate when the village would not. He fed my children for 6 days and asked for nothing." The older orc studied Edron for a long moment. Then he reached inside his coat and brought out a small bundle wrapped in oiled cloth and set it on the gatepost. "The Thornwood clan's gratitude," he said, "to the man who kept the chief's daughter alive." Edron looked at the bundle. He looked at Mura. "Chief's daughter," he said. "I did not think it relevant," Mura said. With the faintest edge of the humor she had been keeping very carefully behind her composure for 6 days. The older orc's mouth twitched. Edron picked up the bundle and set it inside the door without opening it. He thought about 11 years of one place, set at the table. He thought about his mother's voice. "For the stranger who needs it." "There's breakfast still on," he said to the old chief. 9 riders is a lot of coffee, but I expect we can manage." He looked at Mura. She looked back at him, and whatever she was reading in his face made her go still in the way she did when something mattered. "I would like to stay," she said. "Not as a guest. I would earn my place. The children." She stopped, started again. "Breck needs to learn a trade. Scylla needs to be somewhere with a roof that holds through winter." And Nod, from behind her, small Nod's voice rose cheerfully from somewhere near the fence. "Edron, the chickens need water." Edron looked at the boy. He looked at Mura. He looked at the 4 chairs that had waited 11 years for something he had not known he was waiting for. "Tell him I'll be there in a minute," he said, "and tell him it's his job now." The old chief drank 3 cups of coffee at Edron's table and did not leave until noon. When he rode out, he rode with the knowledge that his chief's daughter had found something in a lumberjack's farm at the edge of Thornwood Forest that no clan hall could have given her, a place where the door opened and the table was already set. That evening, Edron set 5 places. He did not think about it. He simply counted the chairs and counted the people and reached for the bowls. Some things, once they are right, do not need to be explained.